We are looking at a rule of life. We're looking at what brings us under the influence of Jesus. And, last week we talked about how critical the heart is. Because you think about the principle that we're looking at this week, that what you focus on fills you and what fills you forms you. It's what Jesus said when he said, the good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. The evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Saying what's in our heart is super critical, super critical. Proverbs 4:23 says the same thing. It says, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. Or out of it flows everything you do. Out of it flows, when my heart is filled with something, it flows out of it. And so what fills you forms you. You can be filled with bitterness. You can be filled with lust. You can be filled with greed or envy, filled with alcohol. Whatever you're filled with forms you. You're under its influence. And so we are looking at how to become people who can deconstruct the things that bring us out from under his influence and reconstruct the kind of life with habits and practices that bring us under his influence, keep us in sync with the Spirit so we can practice his presence. Huge deal, huge deal. Think with me, about prerequisite number one. Prerequisite number one, you've got to be willing to follow Jesus. Well, a author that I've read, I may have read more of this author's books than any other author. He's a doctor, and I think you'll recognize his material. He's probably influenced you to some degree. This good doctor says, you got brains in your head and feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any way you choose. You are on your own. You know what you know. You're the one who'll decide which way to go. You remember this good doctor? Yep. Some of you have it already. Dr. Seuss. I've read so many of his books. I've read Cat in the Hat, One Fish, Two Fish, Blue Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, Wacky Wednesday, Fox in Socks. One of my favorites, I'm Not Going to Get Up Today. That one's about the Sabbath. And of course, Go Dog Go. The good doctor tells us and reminds us in all kinds of rhythm and rhyme that we have to decide which way to go. I know that I've told you about the young Zode who came to two signs in the fork in the road. The Zode scratched his head, his chin, and his pants and said to himself, I'll be taking a chance. If I go to place one, that place may be hot, so how will I know if I like it or not? On the other hand, though, if I go to place two, it might be too cool, and I might catch a chair will chill and turn blue. So place one may be best, and he started to go. Then he stopped and he said, if place one is too high, I might get a terrible earache and die. If place two is too low, I get some terrible pain in my toe. So which way should I go? He started off to place one, and then said to himself, on the other hand, though, for 36 hours and one half that Zode made starts and made stops at the fork in the road, saying, no, don't take a chance, it may not be right. Then he got an idea that was wonderfully bright. I'll play safe. I'm no dunce. I'll simply start off to both places at once. And that's how the Zode, who would not take a chance, went no place at all with a split in his pants. Certainly. Thank you, Dr. Seuss, for reminding us you can't keep going two places at once. But some of us try desperately hard to do so. Jesus said, the house divided against itself will not stand. He says, you cannot serve two masters. Either you'll hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Right? In that God or mammon. Mammon is not just dollars. It's the whole commercial industry. And a lot of us are simply under the influence of commercialism. We're under the influence of how can I get the next thing that I think will fulfill me? The truth is, you and I have lives that are very full, but not very fulfilled. So you and I have got to decide, which way we'll go at the fork in the road. If we decide to go with Jesus, we need to prioritize that relationship above all others and follow him. Today, I hope you smiled. I hope maybe even you've laughed a little. But most importantly, I hope that with me in this moment, you'll say, Jesus, more than anyone else, I want to follow you. Lord God, we ask you to make us people that yearn to be like you because we know you, and that we would live in such a way that others can recognize what's most important, who we're under the influence of. Do this work in our hearts as we pause, reflect, and reaffirm afresh today that we, as Christ followers, as disciples, more than anyone else, we follow you. Make us more like you. I will see you tomorrow.